Welcome to the Press One for Nick podcast. My name is Nick Glimsdahl, and my guest this week is Terry Bradley. He's the Senior Vice President and Director of Client Experience at Paducah Bank. Welcome to the podcast, Terry.
Hey, Nick. Thanks. I'm really excited to be here.
You and me both. So before I get started, one thing I ask every single guest is what's one thing people might not know about Terry?
Well, let's see. There were two career paths that interested me when I was young. Banking, obviously, but the other was broadcasting. I'm excited that banking went out, but I've really always dabbled in broadcasting. Even did a video news segment for our church where we shared upcoming events and church information, during our Sunday morning services. But, Nick, I'm really still drawn to video. In fact, early in 2020, our team started what we refer to as Turn Up Tuesday, where we did a video segment every Tuesday morning for our retail team. And that really helped us be connected, during a tough time in that year. But we actually worked with a consultant starting in the fall of last year relative to video, and have now launched Turn Up Tuesday company-wide. And we're really excited about the results that we're getting out of that. But at the end of the day, I've been doing this banking gig for 37 years, and it is absolutely the best career ever.
Yeah, I think you made the right choice based off of our conversations in the past. But so Senior Vice President, Director of Client Experience, was the Director of Retail Client Experience. Congrats on that promotion. What does client experience mean to you? And maybe why is it important?
I'm always drawn to the book. It's actually sitting back here by Simon Sinek, Start With Why. And in that book, Nick, he clearly shares a message that has impacted me greatly. It doesn't matter what you do or how you do it if you don't know why. And I'm going to say that one more time, just make sure the listeners get it. It doesn't matter what you do or how you do it if you don't know why you're doing it. And for us, the why is a client experience. It's how we make decisions, and ultimately it's why we make decisions. At Paducah Bank, we consider both the internal client experience and the external client experience as equally important, because if our teammates are not experiencing a remarkable internal client experience, it's absolutely impossible for them to deliver a remarkable external client experience. It must be how we live and how we breathe. For me personally, it's about the whole of the person. I say it's your own personal brand. But for me, my focus on the client experience is how I interact with everyone, whether it's at work, at home, at church, out in our community, because I really don't think you can separate it.
Yeah, it's you either have it or you don't. You can't fake a great experience. You can't fake a great customer or an employee experience. You have to truly believe in it. And if you try to fake it, my wife's grandma always calls it the baloney meter. Like, I'm going to feel that regardless of where you're at and how you interact with me.
Customers will get it. They'll see right through it every single time.
Yeah. So you talk about being client first, and your goal is to deliver radical personal service, which is awesome. Yeah, I love it. But how do you measure client experience?
That is absolutely the big question. And Nick, I'm going to admit, we have not clearly developed our measurement for success. When I see what others are doing in the industry, it's a big task. What I do see, though, is that our company is experiencing personal change. Our teammates are showing up differently. Their interactions with each other are better. We've been blessed with years of intentional focus on culture. The great thing about it for us is that it's never a one and done, and we're never satisfied. The commitment of our teammates is absolutely that, to deliver radical personal service, because if it's the same for everybody, is it really special? I think at the end of the day, meeting expectations isn't magical. Exceeding expectations is better, but delivering the unexpected is truly where the magic begins.
Yeah. Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. You talk about, it's the employee experience equals customer experience, right? It's if you don't have that experience internally, you're not going to have that experience externally. So do you also deliver an internal client experience?
We do. It's a huge, huge focus for us, Nick. Our director of talent and culture, Mari McGarvey, is committed to learning and developing personally. And she does that as an example for our other teammates to be intentional to do the same. She's invested countless hours learning how to best understand our teammates as an individual. How they're wired to show up and why they show up and how they interact with others. And, for us, that process allows our leaders to identify the right role for a teammate so that they can ensure personal success. And then that leads to team success. And then that leads ultimately to success for us as a company. But it starts back with that personal. Our approach to the internal client experience is really deeply rooted and what you hear a lot about today, and that's mindfulness-based emotional intelligence. Mari applied, and she was accepted into the Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that book, Search Inside Yourself, but it's based on the approach by Google. She actually applied, and her application was accepted. She was one of 51 worldwide to be accepted into that class. And I'm going to say that one more
deal.
time.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
One of 51. And, it was funny because she talked about, there were people from, all of these other countries and then Kentucky.
Yeah.
And so
Paducah. Yeah.
That's huge. That's absolutely huge. There's so much to learn from that engagement. And she's really incorporated that into, how our teammates learn and develop personally. And really when our focus is on that, we're going to show up differently. We're more self-aware. We experience and deliver an exceptional internal client experience. And for us, we call that approach well-being. And so, thinking about that well-being of our teammates, we threw that wow in there that, for us, it's our well-being.
Yeah. And you have wow kind of throughout, embedded across the entire organization. Why is that important?
For us, wow came from what we received whenever the Wall Street Journal had named us as one of the top 15 workplace in the country. When that happened in our community, everybody was like, wow, wow. And so it really kind of stuck with us and absolutely became our brand. And, we can wear, a nameplate or a pin or, we can just have that circle with wow in it. And people recognize it without even having to have Paducah Bank in it. And, for us, it had truly and continues to be today absolutely what we want to hear our customers say when they walk out the door is like, wow. And we want it to be meaningful for them.
Yeah, I do love that. One thing, kind of going back to the employee one more time, is you talk about how, on a previous call, you talked about how your team it's important to discover your best self. You don't hear that a whole lot in organizations. So why is that important to you?
Well, you may have asked the wrong question, Nick, because I literally can talk about this for hours. And it's been 2 years since I was first introduced to that concept.
Yeah.
We had the opportunity to attend a Fans First workshop down in Savannah, Georgia. And Jesse Cole, I don't know how familiar you are with Jesse. I think you and I have talked a little bit about him in the past.
Yeah, he was also one of our guests here on the podcast.
Yeah, he's an author, keynote speaker, owner of the Savannah Bananas baseball team, and so let's think about it this way. The best version of you and the best version of me already exist.
Yeah.
Our focus on the internal client experience, literally our focus on our teammates, is to deliver an environment that encourages us to search inside ourselves and to discover that best version. It already exists. Sometimes it takes a bit to know who it is, but it's a real person. It's not made up. And I can tell you right now, the world is chomping at the bits to experience you, the real you. And then when you discover that best version of yourself, Jesse will say, amplify it, turn it up. When we show up that way, literally the days are brighter, and we share that light for others to take with them, whomever we're interacting with in that given moment.
Yeah, there's a lot to that. How do you continue to bring your best self? Everybody doesn't stop. I continue to say this, but when it comes to customers, nobody brings their problem by themselves to that conversation. And the same is true with your employees. Nobody brings the problem or just themselves to work. They bring, oh man, I was late. I got a flat tire. My dog, threw up in the back seat. Like whatever that is, like they continue to bring them they're all of themselves holistically to work. And so how do you have a way to be purposeful on bringing your best self? I think that's so important.
It really is.
So we talked about growing, prospering, and serving. Why is that important at Paducah Bank?
For us, this is a really big thing. For Paducah Bank, grow, prosper, serve, we call it our GPS. So think about it as that guiding factor. It's how we measure personal development and the impact of each of our teammates. Again, our director of talent culture is always looking for the best impact for our teammates. We were one of those companies. We did that formal performance evaluation. It was based on those goals that were set by the manager. Those counters, how many calls, how much production, and just didn't feel good anymore. So Marty introduced the concept of GPS to our bank president, Marty Herndon. So the basis is this, Nick. Our company sets GPS goals as a company at the beginning of each year. How we will grow as a company, how we will help our community grow, how we'll prosper as a company, how we'll encourage individuals to prosper, and ultimately how we will serve our clients and our community and actually each other. From there, our leadership team sets their own personal goals of how they will grow, prosper, and serve toward helping the company meet its GPS. And then, as you guessed, each teammate is going to do the exact same thing. But now how the beauty happens is that when we do throughout the year, no more quarterly performance evaluations. Yeah. I'm going to say that again. No more quarterly performance evaluation based on those numbers.
But wait, Terry, how are you going to measure them? How are you going to measure them?
So each leader has a monthly conversation, maybe over coffee at a local coffee shop. And they listen to their team members, how they're progressing with their own personal goals, what's going well, what might be a challenge, what the leader can do personally to help the teammate meet their personal goals. And that's the key. It's our own personal goals of what we said we're going to do to help our company meet its GPS. And so then in January of the following year, it's on us. We are absolutely responsible for what we committed we would do in the prior years. And, for me, I think it's just a beautiful way for us to absolutely be personally responsible for our own performance.
Yeah. So are you saying that most time that there's quarterly reviews, it's the leader or the manager telling the employee, this is what I think is what you should be aligned with, because this is what I measured on and this is what the organization's measured on. And instead it goes back. It's kind of a reverse engineer that, and it's now the employee saying, this is how I'm going to invest and serve and align with the organization.
You've absolutely got it. I mean, that is the key, because then you truly have personal responsibility for what you committed to do. But it's really still on the manager to coach throughout the year and help. And so it's not, the manager coming in and saying, this is what you said you're going to do. It's, sitting down and having a cup of coffee and saying, Tell me what's working with your GPS. What have you had a challenge with? What are you having success with? Even better than that. So, focusing on the positives. And so you've had these conversations all year long. So, at the beginning of the next year, it's an easy process to complete those performance evaluations.
Yeah, I love that perspective. So tell my listeners a little bit about one of the WOW experiences, WOW University.
So WOW University, it's how we live every day. We want that client to walk away with that wow factor. After we attended that Fans First workshop down with Jesse and his team, Mari and I came back. We were super pumped, and we how do we reimagine our focus on the client experience? Our first step was reimagining our retail delivery system. Starting with a reorganization of the teammate structure. Our retail bankers are the face of the company. I mean, they're who our customers see most of the time, and so it really made sense for us to focus from that standpoint. As part of that new structure, I proposed a new position to be created, and that role is Retail Client Experience Manager. It was designed to help us deliver and develop what we expect of ourselves. And so 2 individuals joined us, Nick Morris and Craig Felker, both with no banking experience, none. And that was key. We wanted to truly get a different view of what we do and how we do it. And so, they spent a lot of time just listening to, what we do and how we do it. And, but we wanted to make sure that we were able to determine why we were doing what and how. And so as they listened to it, we sat down in a room with a blank piece of paper. And so we decided that our approach should not be from the standpoint of asking why, but we really challenged ourselves to ask, well, why not? And so if you can dream it, it's worth trying. Absolutely. And so when we finished that day, we had the structure of WOW University. We refer to it as our playbook for how we'll deliver the client experience, both internal and external. And so that was developed through conversations with our retail team. We have just recently completed a curriculum, and so we'll be taking that company-wide at some point. But the curriculum or the outline of WOW University is our vision, which is the why, our mission, which is the what, and then our DNA, so the how. How we do what we do has to be deeply rooted in who we are. And so, as you can imagine, we're really proud of this playbook and how it's going to help us transform into that, what we refer to as that client-first company that we know will make a difference.
Yeah. A lot of organizations, unfortunately, though, see when it comes to learning and development, it's kind of stagnant. It's not necessarily up to date. This is the way we've always done it. So how are you doing it at Paducah Bank to keep it fresh and relatable?
Well, if it's not, it's just not real because each client experiences us in a different way. Steve Pallas from CSI said it best a few years ago. We must meet our clients where they are, not where we want them to be. He said it at their customer conference, and I think I still literally repeat it multiple times a week, and it's become repeated so many times that now other people will repeat it to me. But it's so true. Yeah. Clients aren't looking for a global experience. They want to receive the experience that they want. Yeah. And we have to be intentional to deliver that personal experience through every channel that we have available and for whatever channel that the client chooses to interact with us at that point, because we want it to be on their terms. So it could be in person, it could be through a digital banking channel, on the phone, or even, we were talking about video earlier, being able to connect on a FaceTime video or through Microsoft Teams for a meeting. But it has to be fresh, it has to be unrehearsed, it has to be personal, but it has to be different each time. whatever's right in that moment. And by all means, it has to be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I think fun is half the battle too. Is I don't want, if I was in your position, I wouldn't want somebody to say, oh man, we have to do this. But I want somebody to say, we get to do this. We get to learn and grow as an organization. And then I get to figure out where I'm at and what my role is in that. And when I go back and have coffee with that leader, I can share these 5 things that I think how I can impact the organization. Or I've been paying attention to the journey of the customer, and here's some things that I think we can improve on. It's constantly adapting and improving. And I think kind of going back to Jesse Cole from Savannah Bananas, like he is constantly adapting and growing and failing. Hopefully he's like, I want to fail because I'm going to learn and grow.
Absolutely.
One thing that you guys do at Paducah Bank is you continue to invest in your people. You talked about when we were on a call, you're talking about, oh man, we're doing the Ritz Carlton Leadership Center training. We've done Google Leadership Institute. We've done the Fans First training put on by the Savannah Bananas with Jesse Cole. That's a lot. That's a lot of investing. Why is it important to invest into those employees, into your group or leaders?
Well, it's key to everything you do. And, Nick, I bet everybody's probably seen that image, where the CFO asks the CEO, what if we invested in, developing our people when they leave? That's the way a financial person is always going to think. But, that CEO responds and says, but what happens if we don't and they stay?
Right.
I know it kind of takes a bit of a humorous side, but it's true. If you don't develop and if you don't invest, it's our responsibility every day to not only invest in our teammates, but also to invest in ourselves as well. So, as leaders and, just making sure that we're continuing to develop as well. I think about it as how can we be 1% better than we were yesterday, and continuing to grow. For the most part, banks are banks. The only thing that makes us different is the people and our team. I think about, by focusing on it from that angle, that's how we allow the magic to happen. We're creating that positive noise out in the community, and then others will want to know what's happening when they start hearing that noise. Hopefully our clients will tell their friends and family and invite them to come and experience their bank.
And it's all about the wow experience.
Every day. Absolutely.
You guys are not just talking about it, but you're living the wow experience. And there's a lot of talking going on in any industry, but it's a lot harder to act.
It is.
So, Terry, I wrap up every podcast with 2 questions. The first question is, what's a book or person who's influenced you the most in the past year? And then the second one is, if you could leave a note to all customer service or customer experience professionals, it's going to hit everybody's desk Monday at 8 a.m. What would it say?
So I'm going to take a little bit of liberty to instead of just saying one book or a person, I'm going to mention a few. Internally for us at Paducah Bank, I would say our bank president, Marty Herndon, our director of talent culture, Maury McGarvey, are top of the list. Nick, they lead by example. They care deeply about our teammates. They encourage us to truly discover the best version of ourselves every day. Externally, I know we've talked about Jesse a lot, and I talk about Jesse a lot every week anyway. Yeah. But he really influences me almost every day. Since I first met him back in 2019, I learn from him every week. He does just that, and you said it. He keeps it fresh and relatable, and he demonstrates how to have fun along the way. I guess from a book perspective, without a doubt, I would recommend Jesse's book. Hopefully your listeners have already picked up a copy, but if they haven't, it's, Find Your Yellow Tux, all about being successful by standing out. Earlier this year, though, I read a book, and you've probably read this one, Nick, Outside In, by Harley Manning and Carrie Bodine. That book blew me away. It is so powerful of how it's focused on, always putting your customer first and at the center of your business.
Yeah.
And I highly, highly recommend that for sure.
That's awesome. And then if you could leave a note to all customer service professionals, what would it say?
First and foremost, the client experience is not dependent upon one person. I know I have that title, Director of Client Experience, and you may have someone in your organization who leads the collaboration and vision and strategy, but absolutely every member of the team is responsible for delivering the client experience. After that, you've got to be real. You've got to understand that everything we do affects someone else every time that we engage with them. I feel like our life is a journey, and we have to honor where we've come from, but also honor where we're going. Along the journey, we may meet some people multiple times, and some may, even become close friends. But oftentimes, we may only meet somebody one time. And for me, I think the client experience has to be rooted in us leaving a small piece of who we are and that other person. Something they can remember and something they'll take with them as part of their life journey and hopefully share it with somebody else. For me, I think the best version of ourselves is our personal light. If we're intentional to let that light shine and amplify it or turn it up, then we will truly be a positive impact in life.
Some solid advice, Terry. How can my listeners get a hold of you or find Paducah Bank?
Paducah Bank, paducahbank.com. We're located in Paducah, Kentucky. I'm on LinkedIn. You're welcome to look me up there. And certainly always welcome the opportunity to engage and learn from other listeners as well.
That's great. Terry, thank you so much. I learned a lot, and I'm sure my listeners did as well. I hope you have a great day.
Nick, I hope you did as well. Thanks so much for having me on your show.